Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Woman Unleashed, an online retreat where we are going to awaken your feminine power, passion, and purpose to make 2015 the best year yet. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! So today is a special session. Before we start, I wanted to have us get together and really kind of set the context and hold the space for us being here. So before we kind of dive into the material and all that, I want us to get present. And so with me, if you can just kind of settle a little bit wherever you're at, cross your legs, do whatever you need to do, close your eyes, and with me, take a deep breath in, inhaling this moment. Inhaling again, and this time I want you to imagine any thoughts that you have in the past, things that you're worried about before you got here. I want you to take all those things and imagine like you're sucking all that energy back to you as you inhale it back in and out. And one last deep breath. This time I want you to imagine any thoughts or things you're concerned about in the future where your energy is going that direction. I want you to inhale, bringing it back in and out. You can open your eyes, and we are here. Feels so much better, doesn't it? I feel much better already. So when I thought about having a session and kind of having an opening session, there was someone who I thought, I would really, really love to have this person do it with me because she's awesome. And I thought that she would really be able to hold the container, hold the space, and with me kind of co-create this magic that's going to happen during this retreat. So I'm going to share a little bit about her, and then I'm going to turn it over to her so you get to know her a bit. So today our session is with Lisa Schrader, and she is the founder of Awakening Shakti. I've been following Lisa for a few years and love, love, love her work and her energy and her beingness and her yumminess. She really helps women tap into their feminine power, their, that wellspring that we have. And sometimes we can feel really dry, and she has this way to tap us into that. And she works with what she calls Shakti, and we're going to learn a lot more about that today. Yay! She's done all sorts of work as a sacred sexuality teacher, as a tantra teacher, and so she's been featured on Oprah and on VH1 and on Oxygen. So she's been over the place. But besides that, she's been coaching since 2001. She works with groups. She is the host of the Awakening. The annual Shakti Summit with the Shift Network. She is also an author. She's has 2 books. She has one, which I love, Kama Sutra 52, A Year's Worth of Best Positions for Passion and Pleasure, ha ha ha, and also Getting Started with Tantra. She lives in Northern California and has this amazing, yummy, juicy, sensual Shakti life, and you can find her on awakeningshakti.com. But today, you can find her here with me. Yay, Lisa!
Thank you, Amber. I'm delighted to be here. And I love what you're creating with this. It definitely called to me. So thank you for the invitation to play with you and your amazing circle of women. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm excited to see what magic we kind of birth. It's like the beginning of the birth process here. It feels really kind of exciting, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you talk about Shakti, and there are 3 different there's a ways that you talk about it. Mm-hmm. Can you go ahead, and I would love for you to share with us, help us kind of tune inwards and connect to that feminine energy, that feminine power, that I think, especially around this time of the year, it gets a little bit dry and crunchy, and so I would love for you to share more about that.
Okay, will do. It's my favorite thing to share about. So I know a lot of you, I'm sure, have a sense of this word Shakti, and for some of you, it might be a very new word, or one that you have a vague sense about. So just to get us on the same page in terms of what does this mean to awaken our Shakti. Shakti is the universal power, the feminine power, and it is everywhere, and it is in us, and it is it is pure power. It's just pure life force, energy, and power. So that's pretty big. That's a lot of energy. And so as I have been exploring sacred sexuality and the divine feminine and walking my own path and teaching, I've been really for many years asking, how do we, bring this down into specific practices in ways that, we can cultivate that more of that energy in our life. And so I came up with, was given really more accurately, this kind of three model way of working with this immensity of power. So do you want me to just kind of dive in there, Amber, or?
Oh yeah, just deep dive. Go,
Dive
go.
in. Okay. So yeah, let's just take it kind of one chunk at a time. And I just want to honor the women that are, I guess there might be men here too, but my sense is it's mostly women who are gathering for this, this beautiful moment of pausing and reflecting, as we complete 1 year and move into the next. So I really am just wanting to offer these, this model and these teachings to help us maybe take a moment to pause and, look at how is Shakti moving in my world, both, to honor the year that has passed, and also in terms of what do we want to create for, our best year yet in 2015. So the first place for us to look is, and the symbol is a circle, and that is around our relationship to what is sacred. So I think of the circle almost like a halo or wholeness or the unity of all things. And I'm moving on this part of my body because a lot of times we sort of orient to spirit here, to our connection to what is celestial. And so in that place of our practice, we're really looking at, what is my relationship with the divine right now in my life? And of course, that's utterly unique for each one of us. What is sacred? And what are the practices that support me with that? So, in fact, if you have your journal and you're listening, you have a place to write, that would be a beautiful thing to just, as I'm sharing about this, to just kind of jot down a couple places where I would look. This is a process I always do at this time of the year, is what are my successes around that? If you look back in this year in terms of your relationship with what is sacred, what can you really honor? Maybe you started a meditation practice, or maybe, even something as simple as saying grace before a meal. Or maybe you were able to have some retreat time where you got to unplug from life. Maybe you've begun exploring sacred sexuality or tantric practices. So just kind of taking a look for yourself about, has that relationship for you with the divine within you, and whatever your spiritual or religious connection is, what's sort of the state of the union of that, and what in particular has been successful for you in the last year? I know, Amber, I just got back from a 6-day silent retreat with the spiritual teacher Adyashanti, and it was the first time I've ever had an experience like that, and it deeply touched this aspect of me that is quite monastic, that just wants to be in devotion to God and Goddess. And it was such a powerful experience to be with, several hundred other people who were unplugging from their life, and going deep into silence to explore that. So just checking for yourself, maybe you also had an experience like that this year, and or maybe that's something that you really want to deepen for yourself. So, to take just a moment to look at your successes around your relationship with what is sacred, and also your disappointments. I think a lot of times at this time of the year, we kind of rush headlong into, goals, and this is what I want to do to improve. And we can get very much in that hyper masculine mode of, I got to get, make more things happen, and we don't take time to just sit and reflect and be with what might have been a disappointment. And I think that's a really key part of our feminine and our Shakti practice, is when we can be with those things and we can find completion around them, then we actually can move forward with more access to our Shakti and to our energy. So, it also take a look, maybe this was a year where you really did feel disconnected from God or goddess, and or you started maybe a meditation practice, or whether that maybe it was a dance meditation, or there's so many different ways we meditate, but maybe there were disappointments for you, just to honor those as well and see if those help to point you towards what you're really wanting in the domain of what is sacred. So I think just if we can just take a moment so we can have an embodied experience here, to just close your eyes and to connect with this part of you that is soul. To remember that we're not human beings who have a soul. We are actually souls who have taken on human form. And to feel that you are a spark of this Shakti energy that has made this arduous journey to come into this reality, time-space reality, and to forget that you are a divine being in order to experience duality, in order to experience the amazing beauty and chaos of being human. But to really just check in for a moment with you as soul, you as divine, and just see what's wanted there. Maybe it's just gratitude. Maybe it's more stillness or silence. Maybe it's spiritual community, tribe. Taking a moment to be with that part of you and tune in, just listen to what you're being called to here in the domain of the Shakti that is your spirit. And let's just take a breath into that. Yeah, I just really honor this moment of pausing, which feels very sacred to me. I was thinking, Amber, as I was preparing for our call, that at least in the northern hemisphere, this period, we're just here on the eve of the solstice, it is the heart of winter. It's the heart of the darkness. And everything in nature is quieting and pulling in. All the leaves have fallen, and even the trees are pulling their energy deep into the roots. And we don't often in the culture honor that all of nature is doing that. We tend to be very out, consuming, partying, doing all of the, insanity that can often accompany the holidays, and even the new year, And so just, what a beautiful thing that we're taking this sacred pause to actually honor that inward movement, which feels very sacred to me. Yeah. Yeah. So then we just kind of naturally, it might be happening to you already. I know my heart just got touched. Giving myself permission to be there. Right here, we find ourselves in the heart. And so the symbol there, of course, is the heart, and it takes us down, into our body. And in this aspect of the Shakti model is really our relationship to our emotional life, to our heart, to our feelings, being messengers for us, and our feelings being a source of power for us, particularly in our sacred feminine practices. And so often we've been shamed about our feelings being too much, or, we tend to sometimes be unskillful with how we express them. They can be very big, or we can repress them. And so this is that place where we're really looking at, how do I come into right relationship with my emotional life, and what is my heart needing? And am I honoring that this place in my body is actually where my intelligence lies, not up here, right? We've been very cut off from our intelligence in the body and in our heart as women. And so this is a chance for us to just look, and let's just continue this sort of gentle opportunity to evaluate for yourself, what have been your wins or your successes in this last year around your heart. Place to look is, have you, cultivated more compassion or acceptance for yourself or others? Have you forgiven? A huge access point to our power is letting go and forgiving. Are we honoring beauty in our life? A woman awake to her Shakti power really walks with beauty. And so, are we creating and placing ourselves in environments that stimulate our senses and our sense of beauty? Because, of course, when we encounter beauty, our heart opens, we fall in love, right? We just have this feeling of love, whether that's seeing a baby or the beautiful flower, or whether that's visual or whether it's a feeling, however the beauty shows up. People caring for each other. There's a lot of ways for us to cultivate that. And this also connects us to our breasts. So, in a sexual tantric practice, we're really honoring our breasts. Our breasts are the gateway into this heart of ours, right? So when we hold our breasts in this way, when we massage them, when we love them, when we send them messages of, gratitude and acceptance, then we actually begin to activate more of our solar energy. We're very solar in a female body here. And so we can use that energy and have it support the melting down into the places where we're not so solar, we're more lunar, like in our sex chakra. So really important as we begin to awaken our Shakti, that we learn to love these breasts and let these breasts communicate with us, and work with our breasts first before we start demanding that the rest of our anatomy open up and get juicy and vibrant. This is the key here. And that also relates to, of course, trusting, whether you're in a partnership or not right now, or whether you're in a relationship. It's this piece around, am I honoring and appreciating, being in gratitude? And am I feeling that? And am I trusting, my heart? She will let me know if it's safe for me to open the rest of my body. So really important place. So again, just looking at, what your successes have been around the heart for you, what your disappointments have been. Maybe your heart has gone through some real trauma this year, a lot of letting go. My heart was broken open earlier this year when I chose to let go of my home that I was in for many, many years, and raised a family in, and was a community gathering place. And that was such a letting go for me. And of course, it opened into a beautiful new world that I'm
positively delighted to be in and feel a tremendous sense of liberation on the other side of that mountain. But wow, that, that mountain was intense, to trust and to let go and to grieve. And so I'm just, offering you to check in. Maybe there's been places that have really been hard for you to let go of, issues around relationship or your health or your work in the world or your identity in the world. I'm also empty nesting. I'm letting go of my daughter right now as she's off to college. I mean, we're really looking at the life cycle that you're in and what you've had to let go of. And just checking in, have you given yourself the chance to grieve that, to get complete with that so that you can really move forward. It's really important to check the disappointments. And then, of course, any intentions, if anything, is sparking ideas for you about, what might really want to be put in place for you around your heart. And then the third part of the model is the symbol is the downward facing triangle, and it really lives down here. The camera's not that low, but it really lives in our womb and in our yoni, our sacred portal. And so here in the Shakti model, we're really looking at our energy, our light, our life force, our kundalini, our sexual life force energy that's coiled at the base of our spine, and how is that wanting to move? Are we feeling self-expressed when it comes to our sexuality? Are we allowing ourselves to have pleasure? How much pleasure are we allowing ourselves? Are we, frankly, in right relationship with pleasure, right? Are we using pleasure as a way to avoid pain? Are we grabbing for it to get away from something? That's a good thing to check. We all do that, right? A place to check our addictions and patterns around that. And or are we celebrating pleasure as who we are, as a frequency of our Shakti and part of our life force energy and part of our birthright, and if you're listening and the domain of sensual or sexual pleasure is, intriguing to you, then to really just check in with yourself, like, where do you want to begin with that? And to begin gently. Maybe it's time for you to do the next layer of healing around, sexual abuse or sexual trauma that's happened in your life, so that you can actually free up this body. She's very forgiving, this body. Your yoni is very forgiving. Maybe it's time to, whether you have a partner or not, begin to gently open yourself to more sensual life force Shakti pleasure, because that is a gateway into the divine, right? It's a core tantric principle that spans all of the tantric teachings, is that pleasure can be a gateway into the divine. And so the more we allow ourselves those healthy experiences of pleasure, sexual pleasure, sensual pleasure, the more we are returning, I believe, to that core of our Shakti. And that's the kind of power and fuel that is, frankly, sustainable, right? When we're trying to live from the neck up, or we're doing, going, improving, and we're stuck in that hypermasculine mode, that is not sustainable energy for us as women. Men do much better with it, but they have things like testosterone, a lot more of it than we do, and they're good with goals and, focusing and moving that way. For us as women, if we do that to excess, which most of us have experienced, we hit burnout, we hit depression, we hit no sexual energy or very low libido. We start shutting down. So we need these experiences of touch and sensuality and sisterhood and beauty. These are not extraneous things for us as women. These are the source of our power. And so the more that we can come into right relationship with that, the more we can start accessing, this power that just doesn't stop. It just can kind of fuel us. So again, just sticking with our practice here, just even taking a moment to close your eyes or just jot down in your journal, what do you feel like have been your successes in this last year around tapping into this Shakti energy in your life? Like maybe you've actually made some good changes in your diet or your exercise program that you do. Maybe you're adding superfoods into your diet. Like maybe there's a way that you're actually supporting your energy on that level. Maybe you have started getting massages, or you've gotten yourself into a women's group where you can actually, feel loved and held, or maybe you've remodeled a room and made it, more beautiful or more sensual. And or what are the disappointments around that? What hasn't gone the way you wanted it to go this year? And then, of course, what's that pointing you to? What is it that you're learning about yourself? What are you calling in for 2015? Yeah.
I love this.
Good.
What I'm really loving about this is the perspective. It's that we started off looking at like things from the perspective of spirit and from what's important in that space. I just was recently in a car accident, and that put that all into that perspective. Yeah, it wasn't about the little details, but it's more about what does my spirit yearn for? What that bigger space of myself, and then going into the heart and the feelings that the feeling place, especially as women, there's been so much of that feelings aren't safe, that they are a weakness. But I love that you're talking about them as like a guidance system. Yeah. And then the body, and woven between these, you've talked about letting go and about releasing, and you talked about with the heart doing that with forgiveness, but you also talked about with the body as far as trauma and letting go of things in order to kind of cultivate new energy. And I think that's so perfect coming to the end of the year, that it's like this is the perfect time, to set the intention to let go and we talk about women unleashed. It's like that unleashed, whatever's holding us back, letting that go and stepping more into our radiance and beauty and power. And I'm loving all of it. So I have a question for you, Lisa, when I was looking at stuff. I'm loving this model. And traditionally, we always hear body, mind, spirit. I'm noticing there's no mind in there. So where do you see that fitting in? Or do you see that as more kind of like the masculine, egoic place? Where do you see that?
That's a great question. I love that question, Amber. Nobody's ever asked me that before, so let me just feel into it. Honestly, what's coming to me right off the top of my head is that mind's always there. It's, we can't get rid of it. Maybe especially because I've just come out of, this retreat where I got very intimately connected to that mind, yeah? So, I think we're intelligent women, and so I'm not, our mind and our intelligence is it's a gift. It's beautiful. And, I think in any, like even what you're offering, there's going to be a lot of, information and content, and, your speakers are going to bring different research in. We will always be feeding the mind and the intelligence. And what so it's there. But what I'm noticing, what I'm experiencing, the deeper that I dive into the awakening of my own Shakti, is that that intelligence is actually, for me, much stronger in my heart, and even in my gut, or even in my yoni. I have a lot of students who say, "Oh, I don't do anything now unless I check in with my yoni." Like there is a way that we are reclaiming, and I would say it is critical for the survival of this species on this planet that we reconnect with intelligence that we own in a different way. Because when we operate up in that, monkey mind, frankly, the insanity that masquerades as reality, and in that masculine model, and I'm not talking about men, I'm talking about men and women, we are creating a tremendous amount of destruction. Mm-hmm. And so it's almost like mind for me is getting relocated into the intelligence of my heart, the higher intelligence of my intuition and of my feminine body, and frankly my instinctual feminine body. So, we know when something smells fishy, or when we walk into the room and everybody's smiling and everything seems to be fine, but there's something weird going on, right? The vibe is off. And because there's not a lot of training or support for us to honor that, especially when we were little girls, we would walk into a room and we would say something and everybody would, give us a terrible look and hush us, because we're not supposed to be talking about the fact that daddy's an alcoholic and being an asshole, right? We're all, or whatever's going on, we're trained to shut up and be in denial and eradicate that aspect of our mind or our intelligence. And so part of us waking up to our Shakti power is, frankly, speaking the truth, which is one of the core pieces that I teach, and learning how to do that and learning how to listen to the intelligence and the messengers of the emotions, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than saying like, oh, in fact, I was just teaching a piece on shame, which is one of the tougher emotions that we deal with. And that's particularly relevant as, we're talking about our sexuality. We have a lot of inherited shame and shame around our bodies and our sexuality. But when we can embrace shame as part of our guidance system, in a healthy way, and I bow to Carla McLaren's work around this, which I love, that shame is showing us that potentially we have misstepped, maybe, right? That, we've been unkind or we've been harsh, or, we make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with that. That's human. If we can, check in with the shame, oh, does this actually belong to me? And do I need to make amends, or do I need to course correct? Do I need to apologize so that I can let that go and move on? And, that's a healthy way of working with an emotion that feels for a lot of us like, I don't want to go there. So that's part of us becoming, just friendlier with our sources of power. That's one of them. So that was a long answer, but yeah, it's kind of like mind is woven through. Mm-hmm. The definition of it, I think.
And so, for the women who, we have this time together for this retreat, how can we, using our body intelligence, body, heart, spirit, this other intelligence, how can we use that to learn instead of, we're on this feminine retreat, then using our, hypermasculine, intellect. How can we're going to be doing body work and those different types of things, but what do you have to say as far as, okay, how can we learn in that way?
Well, I think, and I know I'm going to offer this, my little Shakti manifesto to your circle, and it's got the, the circle, the heart, and the triangle on it. There's great, actually, practices on here, so I won't go over all of them, but they're great practices. But the key thing that I want us to remember, a couple things. One, it's utterly unique for every woman. It's utterly unique. So, the beauty of a forum like what you're creating, Amber, is you've got all these wonderful experts, teachers coming on with their models and all of that, and that's beautiful. But what I would just offer to every one of you is to, I love this quote by Walt Whitman, re-examine everything you've been told and dismiss what insults your soul. And to let it filter through you, but then ultimately it's a highly individual practice of you saying, what is my truth about this? And not, check with your mind, that's a good idea, but check with your body. you know, because very often our minds will say, well, da 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 da, but we to check in with our heart, and it's like, oh, that's so true for me, right? Or our wounds. And so to let the information come in, but really keep coming back to your breath, right? To quieting the mind with whatever meditation practice or spiritual practice that you might have as much as possible, so that you can start to get into the gap of what you're actually experiencing in your feminine body, and trusting that. And I would also say invoking Mahashakti, or Divine Mother, or Holy Goddess, or Great Spirit, or whatever your connection is with the Divine Feminine, and saying, you know, show me how to be with you, right? Show me, talk to me, touch me, move me, you know, so that you can start to really come in, you know, into what is your actual experience in terms of, you know, what is sacred to you, and what's touching your heart, and what your body, how your body wants to open, you know, how your body wants to experience pleasure and sensuality. So they just keep remembering to, yeah, come into the body and the knowing there. I hope that helps, if that's specific enough. But
It helps a lot, and I love that you said that, because when I talk to women, many times it's like I hear from people that are like looking for almost like a guru, like just tell me what to do, and they're looking for a teacher. And we are our own teachers. We know, we really do know. And so when I think about you know, the guides, or even yourself, I think of all of us women as like we can help each other remember, you know, what we already know. Yeah.
that's it, Amber. You know, that's why I was blessed to be told the name of this company that I'm running was Awakening Shakti, and because I prayed about that, I'm like, what do I call this thing? And I've spent literally over a decade just living into that. What does that actually mean? And I love the word awakening, because this isn't about grabbing at more information. We all have more than we could possibly need. It is really, you know, and it's beautiful to have that. And we all need teachers. It's beautiful. And thank goodness for my teachers. And yes, when it really comes down to it, what we're coming back to is what we already know. It is waking up to that, you know, and just, it's as easy as, you know, I was in a dream last night where I was crawling through this space and the ceiling was really low, and I remember thinking, how in the world am I going to get out of this situation? And then boom, I woke up and I was like, oh, thank you, that's how easy it is. How easy it is to get out of the tight situation. You just go, oh, I am just waking up. And I woke up and I was like, I am so glad I don't have to put that on my to-do list. Like, I do not have to deal with that. You know, and maybe that our Shakti's like that too, you know? It's like we're just waking up to like, oh yeah, I know this. I know what brings me pleasure. I know when I'm feeling, you know, my emotions. I know that they're here to tell me something, you know? And we're just, you know, blessings on all of us. What a courageous thing that we're here doing this dance. You know, it is not easy being a human being. It is not easy remembering these things and lining up our lives at this point on the planet when we're mothers and entrepreneurs and sisters and taking care of our parents and our children and our clients. And, you know, it's a lot what we're doing. It's so much. So just, you know, lots of compassion for where you're at, and such a beautiful thing to take the sacred pause to just let yourself reflect. And yeah, just beautiful that you're bringing this right now, Amber. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. This has been so yummy, and it's like I'm feeling like all of my insides are, they're feeling warm and relaxed, and that's exactly the way I like to feel in a retreat. It's feeling, just kind of just relaxing into myself and letting go of the outside world. And I think that, you know, you've helped create that container in this session. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Do I have time to share a poem?
Oh, yes. Well, okay. I have an idea. How about I have you share your free gift,
Oh, okay.
And then I'll share where they can get it, and then afterwards we can like end with your poem, and that will like end us with the energy.
I love that. I love that. Okay.
Me too. Let's do it.
Well, my free gift, I showed it to you all. It's right here. I call it my Shakti Manifesto, and it gives you this model. It gives you actually practices, and it also it's a 5-day mini course. And so you get this little document. If you, a lot of women put it on their altar just to remind them, of what they're up to with their Shakti. But it also is a 5-day mini course, so I just give you a little more teaching, a little more context for that. So if you liked this or you're intrigued about it, that is definitely your next go-to place where you can get a little more meat about that. It's totally free, and I would love you to have it. So it's on my website, awakeningshakti.com.
And also, to make it easy for you, it's on the link right here. Yay. Below our video. Ding, 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 ding. I'm like doing the Blake Shelton. If anyone watches The Voice, you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, so that's where you can find your gift. And then also just knowing that I'm looking forward to connecting and seeing with you through the rest of this retreat. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and share on the Facebook group, and looking forward to hearing from you. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and end with Lisa's poem and let you just kind of feel that retreat feeling rippling out. Sending much aloha.
Thank you, Amber. It's actually a poem by Adyashanti, since he's really in my field right now, and it's about silence. So I just thought it would be so beautiful as an offering as we step into this retreat time. Thank you. A poem on silence. The waves of the mind demand so much of silence, but she does not talk back, does not give answers or arguments. She is the hidden author of every thought, every feeling, every moment. Silence. She speaks only one word, and that word is this very existence. No name you give her touches her, captures her. No understanding can embrace her. Mind throws itself at silence, demanding to be let in, but no mind can enter into her radiant darkness, her pure and smiling nothingness. The mind hurls itself into sacred questions, but silence remains unmoved by tantrums. She asks only for nothing. Nothing. But you won't give it to her because it is the last coin in your pocket, and you would rather give her your demands than your sacred and empty hands.